So we'll talk about the 4 different types of project that are available to us in AppViz. We'll see how we can create and define a project, add tasks to a project, manage the life cycle of a project. Pretty straightforward. These are then the types of projects that we support. Firstly, the application life cycle. So for a particular application, we can manage its migration from the different phases of the life cycle, from testing and staging to production. Okay, rather than having to rewrite rules and point things to different places, we can do it all within an AppViz project. And actually, if we have different phases in our organizations, if we don't have those testing, staging, and production phases, we can actually add in our different phase names to match the way that we work. Then we have an application migration. So I want to move my help desk applications currently running on-prem, but I want to move it into the cloud. You would use an application migration project for that. Okay, so also then server migration. If I have a number of different applications running on a server which I'm going to decommission, I want to move them all to a new server, maybe a more powerful machine. We can use the server migration project to handle that. It will migrate all the applications across to a new server. And then finally, server decommission. Okay, we just saw application decommission. This is server decommission. Okay, and we're going to take out the servers from the flows that are actually using those servers. So those are the key 4 building blocks for different types of project that we can support. There's a projects dashboard where we can see a summary of everything that we've got working at the moment. General, let's see it. Much more preferable. Yeah. Here's my projects dashboard. Okay, what can we see in here? Okay, so we've actually got a summary of all the projects that we've got open. I can see a summary of the completeness of my projects. Here I've got application migrations. I've got a life cycle project in process here. We'll take a look at that one maybe in a minute. Server migration, server decommission. Okay, so it gives me a general summary and status of all my projects. I can even see projects that have been planned but not yet executed. Okay. So once we've actually planned the project, we've established the project, we can manage the life cycle of the project from AppViz. We can edit the individual tasks for a project, edit the projects themselves. We can remove tasks. We can close projects when they're finished. We can export a report on the project to PDF if we want to. So actually, we'll do this one in a second. I'm not going to do the demo that we're going to talk about here. I'll do something a little bit different. Let's see. So I have got a lifecycle project for a DevOps application called GameStop Production. So this has been planned. This project has been planned. It's a lifecycle project. Let's take a look at it. So it's planned, but it hasn't started yet. I have information about the project, who created it, when it was last updated. No drafts yet because nothing's been done. Here are the project tasks, GameStop Central, and we can see all the changes that we want to make as part of this project. Okay, so GameStop web front end pre-production is going to go to the API server. Same API server is going to go to that one. Pre-prod is going to go to that one. Okay, some of them aren't really changing, but some of them are. Okay, so how do we then trigger that task? How do we actually kick off that application? So let's see. If I click on update, it's going to set this product in train. Okay, so we're going to actually clone our application and move it somewhere else. Okay, so this is the application we want to do. We've selected it and update application. Okay, so we're at the stage of choosing what we want to do. Very good. We can apply the drafts. There's one draft to apply. So apply selected. It's going to then go away and perform all those tasks. So it's creating a draft for me. So this move, in this case, from life cycle phase to life cycle phase, we're actually doing by cloning the application across to its new home on the next phase. You can actually do a transfer. You could move an application across from testing to staging, and then you would delete it on test. So it transfers across wholesale. But normally, I think what you would choose to do is to clone it across first, then test it, and only when you're most comfortable that it's working okay on the staging server would you remove the testing server version. Okay, so we've got a request open now to actually go ahead and perform that change. We can go in, we'll see in Fireflow exactly what's in that ticket. Okay, so these are the changes we need to make. Okay, we've got some that already work. What I'm actually going to do, I think, is force it to resolve as already works. Again, I don't have an environment with real firewalls, so by just forcing it to as already works, will feed back to AppViz that the work's complete. Okay, so it's now in already works. If we go back, back into AppViz, we should see that the project is now 100% complete. Okay, so that's good. So I will now close out the completed project. Okay, let's see the example that maybe we have on the deck. Okay. So that was a life cycle project. We moved it from testing into staging. You can see you can have other phases. These are the three key ones. Here I've added in a different phase. I've put a POC phase in, which you may or may not want. And after production, the next step would, of course, be decommissioning. Okay, so I can move either a single application from phase to phase or multiple applications from phase to phase. Okay, so like I said, you can either move them straight across from phase to phase, or you can clone them. Okay. Okay, if there's particular flows, we can define them. Once we've finished the planning, we do done planning. We see information about the config. This is the config actually for the life cycle change. And we run the project. Okay, so we've created the project, but we've got something else. We've been told we need to migrate the application to new servers. How do we do that? So we can also do application migrations. We just saw a life cycle migration. Now I'm talking about moving an application from, I don't know, an on-prem server to AWS, let's say. So we'll use an application migration project for that. Only the servers that we need are going to have, we're going to choose the servers that we want to include, and only that for each application, only the servers that we choose will be eligible to have the applications migrated. Okay, let's see. So here we're choosing from our applications ones we want, get a plan. This is exactly what we need to do. And then we're going to replace the existing objects with new objects. So these are the objects that point to the old server, to the on-prem server, and I'm going to replace them with objects that point to AWS in the example I chose. Okay, so this is the workflow. You open a new project, an application migration project, choose the application you want to move, add objects to the migration, choose the objects we want to move from and the ones we want to move to, and that's the end of the plan. We can then go ahead and put that plan into action, and AppViz will create change requests to actually make that happen. What if I actually want to move everything from one server to another, not just one or two applications? Yeah, we can do that as well. Okay, so here I'm going to transfer the application connectivity for all the applications on this machine to here. And again, we'll build up a sequence of tasks, each one specifying a migration for an application from the source to the destination, I guess. You can create the tasks manually in the project UI, or you could actually create a CSV file with a list of tasks and import that and run that through. Okay, so we said we need to define objects to replace the existing objects. The new objects will point to the new home for all the applications on the server. And then finally, decommissioning projects, where we want to remove an old on-prem server. How do we go about doing that? Very simply, when the migration's complete, we can go ahead and add tasks to decommission these old servers. Okay, and it works a bit like application decommissioning. Okay, and we block access to those old servers, create a change request to block the access, and that is it. So we are now going to do our final lab.